So we got to hit refresh on that, because that's what happened last time. And then you should see the video. Let's hope that works. All right, wow, 13 seconds in. There we go. All right, it's me, your buddy. It's David Wilcock. How are you? I hope you're as excited about what has happened today, or I found out about today, as I am. This is really, really big news, folks. What has happened, in case you don't already know about this, we have been talking about Wikileaks having a treasure trove of apparently outstanding data that takes whatever we learned in 2016 and goes into overdrive. We're talking about something of such magnitude that it is the grand data dump we've been waiting for. We have heard about the data dumps for ever since at least 2014, 2015. We started getting briefings on this. In other videos here on YouTube and elsewhere, I have shown you, and in conferences, I've shown you tweets from, for example, Kim.com. And if you remember, Kim.com is a guy who has some really amazing background in the computer biz. He created a file sharing service which became very, very popular, and he made a lot of money. Some might not say in the most honest way because it was through hosting stolen content, more or less. But they did, it was called Mega Upload. But they did learn some interesting things. He came into contact with Julian Assange from Wikileaks, and that was something that you hear about in the Kim.com movie, where they actually talk about him getting arrested and cops coming to his house and raiding him. So yeah, is he totally clean? No. Was Mega Upload kind of sketchy? Yes. But, okay, hold on. He is a legend in the computer geek community, in the hacker community, if you will. And there's no better hacking on earth than WikiLeaks, right? Because that's the ultimate example. So in my articles, I've talked about some very provocative tweets that we had from Kim.com, in which he stated outright that he had a treasure trove of documents that he knew to exist, that were WikiLeaks documents, and that when they dropped, it wouldn't happen right away because we have to do the digging, okay? But when they dropped, the world is going to change in a fundamental way, and we never go back to the way it was. This is a huge curated collection where I would assume that pretty much anything you dive into is going to have very intense content. It might not be obvious. In other words, I want to curtail expectations before we get too excited. It's not like you're going to open up every file and see, oh wow, look, here's the summoning Satan section, right? Here's how you properly do a child sacrifice or whatever the hell is in there. I don't even know. It's crazy, okay? We've been hearing about this for so long, and if you also remember, there was one point where Julian Assange had actually released an encrypted file, and it was gigabytes in size. That apparently is this file, okay? This was like his dead man switch. If anything bad happened to him, he was apparently going to release this. The Kim.com tweets certainly implied that there was an organized effort to get this information out to the world at the right time, when the right situation came up, and obviously we are in that time now. So therefore, it is with great pleasure that I'm doing this show today, because we have waited for so long to see these data dumps. We have heard about this, and now finally, as of today, is when I found out. All these emails start coming in. Everybody is telling me what's going on. So let's go to the slide, because you're gonna use my computer with me now, and we're gonna go through this together. So I don't know what the sad news for Willie Nelson is. He looks like a mugshot, but I think he's doing pretty well now. He was bankrupt for a while, but hopefully it's not too sad, whatever it is. We love you, Willie. Anyway, blacklistednews.com is a really cool website, And check out this headline right here. WikiLeaks dumps all of their files online. And then we have the source, Twitter Justice for All CQ. Okay, so let's just take a look at what's on here. Now, first of all, you'll notice that there's different dates on these files. A lot of them are dated January 1st, 1984. But then you have December 1st, 2016. You have October 8th, 2016. September 14th, 2016. So each one of these is pretty crazy. So let's just start reading it down, right? Afghanistan OEF property list. There might be some nasty stuff in there. Charterhouse, I believe that's a financial firm. Iraq OIF property list. WikiLeaks spy files. Anakata, Aryan Nation, Bare Essentials. Barclays Bank, one of the biggest banks. Tax avoidance, censored by Guardian News. Barnes & Noble, I like Barnes & Noble. We might learn some things we really don't like here. Blood and Honor Database, BND Inquiry, BNP 2009, Bolivariana, Budapest Gay Rights Riot 2008. Maybe they set this thing up, to have a riot happen. That happens with the deep state. Cablegate, we've heard about that one. Kafkas board papers, I don't know what that is. CBS News, 60 Minutes. That's probably something bad on CBS News. Sirac, Senep, Colombia conflict videos. Not sure what that is. Investigators. Clinton emails. Ooh. Okay, everybody's probably going to want to click on that one, right? Collateral murder. Yikes. Detainee policies. Empire challenge. FB. Oh, it goes on and on. Freddie Balzan, I don't know who that is. Gitmo, Supreme Court censorship. Okay. IC Watch, Iran, Telco. Italy, child sex 2008. Wow, that's going to be crazy. Julius Baer stalking, Kenya, Imanara. You see what I'm saying, folks? This just goes on and on and on and on and on. Peru, Petro, Podesta emails. We know that one. That one's already come out. RNC election, Sarah Palin hack, Saudi government, Scarlett Keeling's murder, Scientology, Smith County Justice, don't know what that is, spy files. I mean, as you can see, this just goes on and on. It's totally amazing. U.S. Catholic hospitals, 1,000 Marines in Georgia. I mean, it's just crazy. And look, folks, I mean, each one of these is probably like a whole study in and of itself. And I'm just showing you the size of this thing, okay? Just try to check out Anatomy of a Subway Hack, Amnesty International's abortion policy, Anti-Anonymous Flyer by Scientology. I mean, there's just tons and tons and tons of stuff. This is crazy. Some of this might already be up there, but everybody is talking about it as if there's a lot of new stuff in here. And again, any one of these you can click on, and there's just so many. So this is really crazy, and of course, it stops on C. But let's go now to the link. And I want to try to keep this moving. I'm not going to get bogged down too much in this. Okay. So he's got a pinned tweet, which is not the one that they were just showing. I'm not sure where the WikiLeaks files are. But yeah, so this looks like he's got a lot of other stuff that he's just made. This is all within 5 hours, folks. So he's very excited right now. And this might have been from yesterday. That he actually posted this. Okay, so we didn't have the actual link of it, but anyway, you got the point. So let's go over to. I'm going to do this now. We're going to turn off mirror displays, and we're going to put this up and get this going. When we're ready for slides, we'll have that ready. All right. But before I get to my slides. I just want you guys to understand the enormous amount of scrolling that I just did. That's only up to the letter C. And I went through the whole thing on the WikiLeaks site, which the link isn't really there, but we'll have it in the description section as soon as we're done here. This is stunning. And what is it going to take from us? Okay, the alliance, if you will, this group that is defeating evil on planet Earth, the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, they do need our help. And I've said this many times. This is a civilian-led, patriotic mission in which, for most of us out here, this is not a blood and guts, bullets and bombs war. This is a cyber war that you get to choose whether you want to have anything to do with it or not. You can do it from home. Now is probably a good time for a lot of us who want to be able to contribute in a functional way to go in there and start digging, because look at what happened after 2016, just from the 2016 emails that were leaked in October regarding certain very high-level individuals whose names would probably create little markers in my video. So we don't need to say those names necessarily, but you know what I'm talking about, and you know about certain foods that were listed as keywords in those emails and how disturbing all that stuff is, okay? And what have we learned in the 4 years since this happened? We've learned an incredible amount, and people are still following the leads from those original emails and digging things up and taking it to the next step and finding out more information and going beyond what we thought we knew. So I'm very excited today because you all have an opportunity to get involved and make a contribution. There's so much information in these Wikileaks files. Please, I hope that we all think about how we can dive in ourselves and pick one of the folders that maybe don't look like the ones everybody else would want to read. If we all read the Clinton email folder or whatever, we're not going to get to the bottom of this. We need to go into the weird stuff. We need to go into the obscure stuff. We need to actually be like lawyers in the discovery process, where the person that you're suing now has been forced to hand over bank statements and financial transactions and emails. This is what happens all the time in litigation, which we know a lot more about now because we have a full-time attorney. So this is like the discovery process for the cabal, at least the first wave of it. We now can be the attorneys. We can be civilian journalists. We go in there. We find out what the heck they said. What did they do? What's in those documents? And then you're going to have to read a lot of really boring stuff. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be enjoyable. But together, we get our hands on this stuff. And remember, the validity of the 2016 emails has never been disputed by the mainstream media. They have never disputed the validity of the... Absolutely, yes, we're going to do the meditation at the end. And Elizabeth's going to be there with me for that, absolutely. That's a very important part of the technology. And Elizabeth, did you want to say anything right now about what's going on? Because it's so exciting. I mean, this is such a moment in history with WikiLeaks doing this drop. And then all the stuff we can't talk about, the briefings we got, we're not going to talk about that at all. Just
Right. We do talk to some of the sacred warriors who are a part of this. And we're going to do a meditation today to help to send love and protection to all of those men and women who are out there right now risking their lives and putting it all on the line so that we can live on a peaceful planet where innocence is protected and where beauty can be free. So that's what I put my stake in the ground for. And I talk about it all the time. And we're going to be doing a meditation for that later.
And we actually have your new video. Mm-hmm. We just shot on this same set with the same thing before we went live. We shot the intro for that. But why don't you tell everybody about what we're about to release, because I'm really excited about it.
My video?
Yeah.
It's my conference talk from Dimensions of Disclosure 2019. And it's essentially really the second or third time that I've spoken on stage in front of 400 or 700 people, and I talk about the sacred warrior a lot. That's one of my big battle cries, and I talk about the martial arts and the sacred feminine, and we made some music for it, and there's some music in it that you and I did. And
yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
And this is sponsored by our 501c3 corporation, which is called Wilcock Spiritual Healing and Empowerment. We had a lot of people asking for ways that they could donate without paying taxes, and we actually do have all of it done the right way. We're under the supervision of a CPA firm, and so everything is done totally by the book. And so one of the ways that we give back to you is by giving out free content. So this is a movie-length show that has multiple camera angles, and you're going to really love it. So,
and we do a lot to help to protect animals. We love sloths. We are going to be helping some of the burned koala bears from Australia, which is so sad. So many animals lost their lives there.
there's a billion animals, right?
Sadly, a billion animals lost their lives in the Australian fires. And there are still some wounded ones that are alive. And so we use that foundation to channel assistance to different organizations. And we're actually featuring those in the Ascension Mystery School. And we're doing like little short videos, so maybe we can also let other people know. But we're doing our best to be a part of the solution, which is to anchor in the sacred here on earth, to make sure this earth is a beautiful place and a peaceful place for now and for generations to come.
Well, let's also put this on the record while you're here. You and I both got some new briefings that are really heavy, and we're not going to say what they are, but for people who don't think this is real, what would you like to tell them?
Well, since David and I have been together closely for like the last 4.5 years, I've gotten to meet about 20 insiders, and some of those are people that are deep inside of the government. There are insiders that he never really even talks about. We'll just generally talk about, but they're not really known. And from some of the insiders that are in the deepest levels of really the warriorship on the planet, you would call that the alliance. Right now, we have gotten information from them that they are doing active operations, that it is
Which is a very important term.
It's mostly a silent war. It's not put out there. They're not telegraphing what they're doing. They're not making a big deal out of it. They're just taking care of business and doing what needs to be done in order to protect beauty and innocence, really. It really comes down to just protecting peace.
Right.
And unfortunately, we have to protect peace. It would be very nice if we actually didn't have to. It would be nice if everybody honored each other and gave each other space, like 6 feet of space. And how about 6 feet of spiritual space? How about 6 feet of psychic space? You know,
spiritual distancing.
Yeah, let's start. Let's take this up another couple levels here. It would be nice if everyone really did that, because then there would be no need for protection. We wouldn't have to protect the children. We wouldn't have to protect the animals. We wouldn't have to protect ourselves. However, it's not the world that we live in. So we do live in a world where there are predators. And it's unfortunate, but it's real. And those predators have just been even more outed today. And it just happened today. You know, the citizen journalists are going to be the ones to really unpack it. You guys, those who have a sense of sacred justice in your heart and want to do something about making this world a peaceful place. So, yeah, we're doing what we can, and we're sacrificing things too, but it's real. So anyway, these people are losing their lives because we did get those briefings, and some of them are now going in and they don't know if they're going to live or not.
There's a lot of hurry up and
now.
wait.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. But I think it's safe to say, without stepping over any lines, that there's going to be a lot of loss of life in this process, and that includes a lot of friendlies. And so I know how easy it is for everybody to get wrapped up in this and think, oh, this is a LARP, this isn't true, you guys are making it up. We're talking to people who might not make it. This is very serious.
Well, and look at what Julian Assange has sacrificed in order to get this information out to the world. Julian Assange has sacrificed much of his life, if not all of it. So let us, give a tip of the hat to Julian Assange, who put his life on the line to get this type of information out to us. And the world has not been the same since. So he is one of those sacred warriors who, we all are human too. So like nobody is like floating on air here or ascended. So he's a human, everyone's a human who's doing this stuff, but there's a sacred warriorship to it all. So his sacrifice has brought this to us, you know?
Yeah, Julian Assange is a total hero, and you know, when you do this kind of stuff, they try to set you up, and they did a really good job on him.
Right.
Thank God I never fell for any of that honey trap stuff, and none of that stuff happened to me. I've had a really good, clean run here.
But you see what happens, you know,
Man.
it's people sacrifice, you sacrifice a lot when you come forward and you make a sacred stand. And Julian Assange has clearly made his sacrifices to do what he felt was the right thing.
But what we also want to point out is that people are paying the ultimate price, and there's going to be, I don't even want to speculate how many friendlies are going to not make it or already have not made it, because we don't even have any specific information. But we do know this thing is gonna be done, or has been done already, part of it, and it doesn't look like there's any way that the deep state can really fight back, and I don't think that they're going to be any more happy after this
They seem
download.
to be fighting back.
But I mean, not anything that's going to really stop the plan. They've always said trust the plan. And the people we're talking to have great confidence that this is actually going to work. And we're not getting any kind of like, uh-oh, maybe this isn't going to work. We're not hearing that at all.
So we'll do a meditation at the end and just give me a call.
Okay, cool.
And I'll do some singing bowls.
All right, Elizabeth Wilcock, everybody, give her a big round of applause. You can't really hear it, but it's there.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to now, we're not going to make this a really long one, and because there's, but there's so much going on in the world right now. So one of the things I'd like to do right now is go back to the slides, and I want to review for you some of the stuff that Q has already said. I did say this before, but it was in the middle of a big 5-hour ordeal, and now everybody's going to want to sit through that. So I want to just give you some QAnon juice to keep you excited as now these WikiLeaks data dumps have happened. And then we're going to go over to the Q website right now, and I'm going to read some stuff that's new off of the website. So this is one of the ones that I pointed out. On August 1st of last year, they already said public understanding of events just around the corner. And that seems to be now all coming to a head with this WikiLeaks data dump. Then they said, be ready, patriots. And this is very important. Notice, what does it say above be ready, patriots? It says, do you believe in coincidences? And then it says 5 question mark. Okay. Of course, we all just got bitch slapped by Q, basically, like stop speculating about dates, stop speculating about dates. Well, what do you guys mean by 5-5? Okay, because it sounds a lot like May 5th. And notice that they're talking about it here back on November 11th of last year. How is that a date? I don't know, okay? But that's the kind of thing that Q is allowing us to speculate about, given the fact that they actually mentioned it. And they just mentioned it again very recently. I don't honestly know. I don't know if anything's going to happen on that day, but what we did find out, okay, is that 5-5 is a military code that means Mayday. And Mayday, of course, means some kind of an emergency. Does that mean it's an emergency for the cabal? Maybe. It's interesting that we have heard about these releases of data dumps as one of the last things that would happen before things really light up. And we've also heard about the unsealing of indictments. And there was a lot of teasing on Fox News, as I said in my last show, about the fact that they are getting ready to unseal indictments as early as this week. It's interesting that the data dump happened before that, because maybe this is a big 1-2 punch where the indictments are going to make everybody want to go to the data dump. So now we got the data dump, but we haven't seen the indictments yet. It's still only Wednesday. And again, please also bear in mind, folks, Q has always told us you got to be patient. We cannot rush this thing. We've got to do it at the right way, at the right time. And I'm not involved in this except for getting little crumbs off the table, just like everybody else. I had more of them, I guess, because I've done this for longer. And I had briefings on this going back to 2009 about the idea that the deep state would be arrested, imprisoned, brought to justice with a fair trial. And so This is it. This is what we were told, that you were going to have to stay home, that there would be operations going on while everybody is stuck at home and you have to have food at home, and you either wouldn't be able to leave the house or you wouldn't really want to leave the house. Well, that's what's happening. So before I get back to the slides, let me also say this real quick. Most people are now feeling as if this is the end of the world, that they have lost hope, that the economy has been destroyed. The latest headlines are really, really bad, okay? I've said this in the last show. I want to say this again. The only thing that really matters is that the most powerful person on the planet is going to be elected in November of this year. The most powerful person running the most powerful country. Okay? That is of such significance that there are groups that will stop at nothing, and no level of deaths are enough to consider to be off the books. In other words, they'll do whatever it takes to win. They'll do whatever it takes. And so if you're not familiar with what's going on, the current administration, despite the fly traps and foibles that have come out and the incredible anger that has been raised in society, I will say this: I'm willing to overlook an awful lot of stuff if they can pull this off, because the scope and the depravity of the stuff that has been going down is so bad that I will take whatever is a solution as long as it preserves freedom and liberty and that we end up better off. And I believe that we will be better off, and here's a reason for this, okay? I've met with many, many different insiders for many, many years, and many of these people know about this deep state. They know about the military-industrial complex. They understand secrecy. They understand compartmentalization. And there is a very key axiom going on here. When you go back to the deep state and you look at what's really happening, you have two factions, okay? This is very important. You have the Rockefeller faction, which is America, and you have the Rothschild faction, which is Europe, okay? The Rothschild faction, of course, is the older faction. The Rockefeller faction is the new faction. Now, originally, what was supposed to happen was that the Rothschilds created the Rockefellers to basically be like a district of their secret control plan that would run the oil business. They didn't realize when they did this that the oil business could become the predominant money-making business, because at the time, all of the Rothschild-controlled businesses were absolutely supreme. Financial system, bribed judiciary, bribed police, federal officials, election tampering, drug smuggling, gun running, human trafficking, prostitution, all of the things that are vices. Those businesses typically end up being controlled by them like a mafia. You can't get in without them ultimately being the ultimate source of profit. This, of course, gets into things like the British East India Trading Company, which was not just trading tea, they were trading opium and getting a lot of people hooked on drugs. And then they'll pay a premium price for that, and then all that money flows back up to the top. Nobody in the cabal thought that when they created the Rockefeller group in America, that they empowered them and they started to cooperate, that group would have a differential view. But they did. And some of this actually is religious, because the Rothschild faction has a very specific type of religion called Luciferianism. And Luciferianism is not Satanism, okay? It's very different. The Luciferian belief system is that Lucifer is not the bad guy. And again, I would support religious freedom as long as you're not infringing upon other people's civil rights and including their right not to be tortured, their right to be alive and enjoy a healthy life. If you want to say God is this flying spaghetti monster, I'm not going to hate on you, okay? But what we have is a separatist mentality where the idea is that what most people think of as the devil or Satan is actually the good guy, and that all other aspects of the Western Abrahamic religious traditions, which would be Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and they don't like anybody who believes in God because they believe that God is an evil interloper that they call a demiurge. And demiurge actually means half God. So this is a very interesting thing. It's a very interesting backstory because supposedly Jesus and Mary Magdalene had kids. You know that from the movies like the Da Vinci Code, right? That's the ultimate point, is that the Roslyn Chapel, Rose line, it's the line of the bloodline, right? And these people believe that they are bloodline descendants. I've heard different things. There's some people that try to say that some of them are traced back to Jesus and Mary Magdalene having children. If that's true, those children ended up getting kind of off the track. Let's put it that way. It's possible, you know. Everybody's human. Everybody has free will. We've had other briefings come in that some of them trace themselves back to certain bloodlines in the Old Testament, like Isaac and Jacob and Sarah. That's probably true. But just to be clear on this, we are dealing with a group that sees itself as superior to all Western religious thought. They believe that the God that we all think is true is actually a demiurge, an interloper. And that still, you know, okay, I totally do not support holy war. I do not support people killing each other over my God is better than your God. No way. I think that's ignorance. And I think that ultimately, if you got Jesus and Muhammad and Buddha and Moses and Krishna, and let's even throw in Viracocha and Quetzalcoatl, you get all those guys sitting down in a room together, you get them talking, you know, after a few minutes and people start to loosen up their clothes a little bit, it's going to get to some consensus viewpoints. And I think those viewpoints are going to be very similar. And we don't need to fight with each other. The main thing this cabal has been doing is called divide and conquer. They want to take us apart piece by piece. They want to dismantle the whole way that things are done on planet Earth, and they actually believe that the ethics, this is very important, okay? I'm not just rambling on tangent. This is all very important. The ethics and the morality of the Western religious traditions, they consider those to be traps, including moral values that we would have about not murdering people, okay? They believe that all of the rules that were set down by what most people, even if they're basically atheistic, they still kind of have a generalized sense that there's something bigger, there's some higher power in the world. If you go into Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, which I did the 90 and 90, okay, back in 1992. I did 90 meetings in 90 days. They always talk about the higher power, that you believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. And then some people in the meetings don't like that and they want to rebel. And so the way that typically is worked around in AA meeting or NA or any of these other ones that you might do is they say, well, if you can't grok the concept of an actual higher power, then let's just say that the room is the higher power. So some people really get into that and they talk about the rooms. And when they say the rooms, it's like a Christian saying, Jesus, these rooms have done so much for me. The rooms have changed my life. The rooms, and that's fine. You know what? If you want to quote a Christian line, Jesus said, where two or more are gathered, there shall I be. And so when we come together like this and we're talking about the salvation of planet Earth, the salvation of humanity, this is big stuff. This is exciting stuff. And we all are coming to grips with the fact that our planet is not a fairy tale, that we were told it was by mainstream media, talking heads, enforcing a political viewpoint, enforcing a religious viewpoint. And on the one hand, we have people who are spiritually focused, and then a religious focus doesn't necessarily mean that you're that spiritual, because sometimes religions get us worshiping rules. And so the spiritual teachings that I am familiar with, the ageless wisdom that I practice, says we don't want to worship rules. We don't want to worship a word or a person. I don't want people to worship me, okay? I am a flawed person. I've never tried to put myself out there as a savior. There is no cult. You know, some of the negative stuff we get online, oh, David Wilcock is a cult leader. Well, by definition, I would need to have at least some kind of group around me, which I don't. You know, thank God we had this whole thing built at home so we could do it at home because I'm such a loser. We didn't even have a studio. And then all of a sudden there's a pandemic, and now we got 4 camera angles in my living room. So that's pretty awesome. So the point is, okay, look, we're getting through this, but it's important to understand how this happened. We have 2 groups. We have the Rockefeller faction, we have the Rothschild faction, and this is one of the things that the insiders told me for so long. The Rockefeller faction didn't really buy into the Lucifer stuff as much as the Rothschild faction. The Rockefeller faction, for some interesting reason, kind of got into the idea that they're Christian anyway. They're kind of they still believe in the rapacious kinds of crazy stuff that the Rothschilds do in terms of how they work. In other words, they use the same strategies. They use the strategies of covert intelligence operations, assassinations, I'm not saying they're the good guys, okay? These are still very evil people. Assassinations, wet work, mind-controlled shooters. All this stuff that should be coming very obvious to you now. They did all that stuff, but they didn't really buy the Lucifer thing. And this fundamental disagreement catapulted itself into all these different areas. So one of the things that we do know for a fact that has been discussed many times, okay, is that the Rothschilds actually signed the Balfour Declaration. Now, the Balfour Declaration is what pledged the land of Israel to the Jewish people. But it was a declaration. It was just done. And so the Rockefeller faction has always had a close and tight relationship with Israel. Now, I am not at all anti-Semitic. And at the same time, there's these interesting things that come up about Israel that we've heard recently. There's been reports that Epstein was reporting back to Israel with the data that he was getting from people for blackmail purposes, that the security firm that Harvey Weinstein was using called Black Cube was, tormenting people and trying to threaten them with death from coming forward to actually get Harvey Weinstein. Black Cube was an Israeli firm. Okay, and we've heard for a long time that the Rockefeller faction was traditionally running the Republican Party, and the Rothschild faction in America was traditionally running the Democratic Party. Okay, let's assume that's true for a minute. What did I just say about the Rockefeller faction in terms of their spiritual beliefs? They're not really Luciferians. They do the same stuff, but they are not believing in this idea that Lucifer is God. Some of them might, but it's a lot less common based on what I've heard from firsthand people looking me in the eye and telling me how this thing works, okay? It is very interesting to note that during the time that Republican administrations were in office, that we fought a bunch of wars that were very much in Israel's backyard. And this includes things like Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, a lot of these kind of things. And again, there's nothing wrong intrinsically with helping out our allies, because we have allies. And Israel is a great ally to have, at least in principle. Now, you can have a country where there's a problem with the leadership and it doesn't reflect on the people, and it doesn't reflect upon their race, and it doesn't reflect upon their orientation. I do think, as this all unfolds and as we get the big Great Awakening, that there's going to be interesting information about the relationship that was established between the Rockefeller faction, Israel, and the Republican Party in America. And you can look at where the wars were fought and what happened in those wars and think about who's in the background, who's in the neighborhood, as it were. And again, I want to see Israel totally respected, and I want to see them loved, and I want to see any of this nonsense, anti-Semitism, to stop. This is a crime. This is wrong. This is not a Jewish conspiracy. These people killed Jews in large numbers, genocidally, okay? That is real. There's no way you can cover that up and try to say, oh, that didn't happen. They don't like anybody who believes in God. And there's lots and lots of people in this group from all different ethnic and religious backgrounds. So I will always speak out against that, because one of the things they're going to try to do as all this starts to happen is say, oh, this is anti-Semitic, this is anti-Semitic. I don't believe that. I'm never going to say that, because it's not true. So, and then we do have a certain number of people who are going to write comments, and a lot of those comments are probably going to get automatically blocked by the algorithm. It's not even me. That will say really horrible stuff, and they believe it, okay? And this is a wound that we have to heal in our society. The main objective of this group is divide and conquer. But there's two factions, okay? The Democratic faction was the faction that was making money off of things like the financial system, because this is the Rothschild faction, right? Their main thing is financial instruments, big banks, financial trading. The Rockefeller faction's main business is oil. And so you look at the fact that the wars that are being fought, you know, the two big wars, Iraq and Afghanistan. Iraq is the oil, Afghanistan is the opium trade. Now America has pulled out of Afghanistan, and they are going to be able to start running their own country again. And one of the things that certain insiders have been urgently asking me to relay to you, which I'm going to do now, is that we do have a potential human rights crisis in the making. Elizabeth is going to be speaking about this more, but I want to do it right now as well. When the Taliban regains control of Afghanistan, it is entirely possible that women's rights are going to take a nosedive, because they might be forced once again to wear burqas. Their ability to live in a free society is threatened. Their freedom is being threatened. Their rights are being threatened. And they could end up really getting a lot of pain and a backlash to the way that things were. So one of the things that we really hope will happen is that as America is pulling out of Afghanistan, because we are pulling out of these theaters of war all over the world, that's happening right now. And I think that's a positive, okay? Let's hope and let's try to make sure that as order is restored in Afghanistan, as we pull out and they get to run their own government again, that this is done in a way where the women are not going to be oppressed, where they get to maintain their rights, and we don't get a fundamentalist, deeply crazy type of situation coming back into power again as some sort of springback reactive movement. Now, there may be ways in which aspects of the American government can assist in that process. It's not just military, and it's not just pulling out. There are ways in which we can help them to create programs for women, to fund those programs, to make sure that they're in place, to make sure that there is some sort of structure so that women's rights are not destroyed. And that's one of the hot spots that I would hope that you take a look at, and don't just blow this off because we're in the middle of the great pandemic. This is a big one, and there's a lot of women who could really end up being tortured. So we really want to take some time to make sure that we're looking at Afghanistan, we're making sure that transition happens peacefully, okay? So let's go back to the Q slides here, and then I'll dovetail back into this stuff about the Rockefeller and Rothschild faction. So again, it says here, do you believe in coincidences? 5-5, calm before the storm, if you look up at the top. And you know, what was the month and day that the Q public campaign was initiated? What was the month and day that Durham was initiated? It was the same. And again here, this is very cool. It's talking about Durham going after what they would call the company, the agency that starts with a C. And then 5-5, that again is a code they just dropped now. So whatever they're talking about back then, all that stuff is coming to a head now. And then they say, be ready. Okay, so they're telling you something's going to happen. Now, this is another really interesting thing on November 11th, as I said, where the QAnon was moved to the DoD's own server. And that's 11.11.18 being the beginning of the domain name. America will be unified again. Future proves past. Now, that future proves past line is the same thing that came out on a post about Looking Glass. I did a whole video on that. We're not going to try to review that. Your time is valuable. You can go back and watch that. So anyway, to the point of what this says, the Department of Defense's own server has the QAnon information on it. And that's very exciting because when we have the actual Defense Department of the United States government backing up the posts of Q as critical infrastructure, defense, it's a war, it's a cyber war, and they put that structure behind a wall that is essentially in the cyber arena, in the internet arena, it is a military protected enclosure. This wouldn't be happening if this wasn't real. We wouldn't have seen society go over the cliff like it has here randomly. This appears to be all part of a structured plan, which I don't think is bad. Because let's just be clear on this. When we find out about these arrests, we're going to find out that very many top people were brought to justice or are being brought to justice. We're going to find out that they all gave testimonies of incredible detail. A lot of people have sung like rats on a sinking ship. There was this book that Weinstein was carrying when he went into trial, which was Elia Kazan. And he is a very famous person in Hollywood history as a traitor because during the McCarthy era, he reported on the activities of the deep state in Hollywood, this communist infiltration, which everybody laughs at that now. But if you just change communist and you say Illuminati, that's what it really was. Kazan ratted out a whole lot of people while he was going down, and then Harvey Weinstein brought his book into the courtroom, so that said he was going to rat. So you might not know this yet because it's not public, but Harvey ratted out a whole bunch of people. Okay, he still had to go to jail, but he did give a whole lot of very, very useful information. Many people have already been interviewed, and we're going to find out a whole lot of stuff. It's extremely exciting. And even now, with Wikileaks dropping this thing on you, holy Christmas. Merry Christmas, folks. This is the big gift. This is the data dump we've been waiting for years. It just happened. And it's extremely, extremely exciting. So we'll talk more about the two factions in a minute here. But sure enough, I went online and I looked, and there it is. The DoD's own server is 11.11.18.0 to 11.11.18.255. How in the world could this have happened if Q is a LARP, live action role play, meaning not real? Why in the world would a supposedly garbagey internet forum, some yawn fest, right? It's a bunch of dorks, doing this. Why in the world would that be out there? On the DoD's own server. Because this is real. Because what they're telling you is real. Okay? And Austin Steinbart popped up. And I actually made a tweet and said, go look at this guy's stuff because he had some interesting videos. Well, he got a federal lawsuit dropped on him for going up against Q and saying that it was all him. And I feel really sorry for you, man. And I just hope that there's a way that you can get yourself out of the sling by being cooperative. And but I don't really know what happened. So I just apologize to him. He did reach out to me, but for various reasons right now, if somebody is in the middle of a pending federal lawsuit regarding his online activity, I don't want to get in the middle of that. So I'm sorry, Austin. Hopefully you can talk to us once you figure out how to get this thing untangled. Maybe he's going to have to make a public apology. That would probably be what I would do. If somebody dropped that kind of thing on me, I'd be doing a public apology. Okay, so let's go back to this. Next thing I want to show again is November 13th, 2019. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. And that again really shows how heavy what is coming our way, because they're talking about things like Pelosi's son, John Kerry's son, Mitt Romney's son, Biden's son. Hint geolocation Ukraine, hint energy. So that seems to imply, as I said before, that we're going to get information regarding these political figures and others who have had their kids go to countries like Ukraine and get gigantic bribes. For whatever reason, we're not really sure yet, but it said when GS calls, D's always answer, and GS, of course, is George Soros. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. They are very, very interested in that being the case. So, check this out. November 16th, 2019, they said the harvest will soon be delivered to the public for consumption. And this becomes very, very important in what's going on now. The harvest crop has been prepared and soon will be delivered to the public for consumption. Now, let me go back while we're here, and I'm actually going to do this live with you right now because what the heck, we're live. We're going to mirror the displays again, and we're going to go over to, this is how you find Q. In case you haven't done this before, you go qmap.pub, and then here you go, okay? Now, I want you to pay attention to this right here, because this is ridiculously exciting. It says the corn has been harvested. The corn has been harvested. And then when you click on this, you get this video that it goes to, which is it's a ambient music thing where they have these little animated wheels and they rotate around. And it's just very, very relaxing, soothing music. There's nothing more to it than that. So that's not really the data. The data is the corn has been harvested, okay? So, and there's another thing here. It says, we are ready. Set one, mission good. Together we win. Clear your mind and heal, Q. And then this is CHQ, chloroquine. There's a whole lot of stuff here. But anyway, this to me is very, very provocative. And then another thing that I'm looking at this, where it says one if by land, two if by sea. And then they have two lights in what looks like a wheel like you would steer a ship with. Okay, so this is the hottest, latest intel. We just pulled it up. Now, what might that possibly be about? Well, I don't know, okay? But if they say the corn has been harvested, the previous briefing that I just showed you said the harvest will soon be prepared and delivered to the public for consumption. One could argue that the harvest refers to things like the data dumps that just dropped today. And so they said the corn has been harvested April 17th, and now a few days later we get this huge Wikileaks data dump, right? So this excites me. The corn has been harvested. They're talking in past tense. They're saying something already happened. So one of the questions that we could legitimately ask based on this post is, have you guys already done a lot of stuff? Have you already maybe arrested a lot of people? Have you already gotten a lot of it done? I don't know. Or, well, maybe, we'll find out. But that's all I'm going to say. So it's a pretty provocative headline. And then when they say one if by land, two if by sea, right after this other quote, let's go back to the slide real quick, right? Because he says, ex-military here, Q, please don't let us down. We were willing to die then, and we are still willing to die now. Do us proud, please. And they say, for God and country, brother. So then they say, one if by land, two if by sea. Now, what is the historical precedent for that? Okay? The historical precedent for that, if you don't already know, is it is a reference to the early patriotic history of the United States of America, specifically with regard to the idea of a code that was given to, I believe, Minutemen, which were the original patriots who were up all night and making sure that if any type of war activity took place, that they would be ready to go running at top speed in a minute, 60 seconds hopefully, get that information where it needs to go, so that America doesn't get caught with an invasion, because separating from the British was very difficult. There wasn't a lot of money, there wasn't a lot of support, and you're fighting this gigantic British Empire that is so scary. The American Revolution was an amazing, amazing thing because it was done on a minimal budget. And so there was a code, and this goes back to Paul Revere and all that kind of stuff. If you're, when you're a child in America, you get all this American history every year in grade school. It goes on and on, all the way through high school. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea was a code that had to do with lights. And if there's one light that lights up, it means that there's an invasion coming in by land. And if there's 2 lights, it means there's an invasion coming in by sea. Okay, so given the fact that Q gave us 2 lights, what could that mean? It's possible to me, and I don't have any briefings on this, by the way. This is pure speculation, which they're asking us to do by making these kinds of things. They want us to think about this. They want us to speculate. Is it possible, and I don't know, okay, but I'm just saying this, is it possible that there is some sort of classified operation that we don't know about where, for the sake of argument, let's say that there could have been 2 ways that this thing would have been done, and one of the ways might involve more land work, and they would call that the by land choice, and the other way might be the by sea choice. And again, I don't really know what that means. I don't know where they would go or why they would use ships on the sea. But another thing that they said, as I was talking about in the last show, is that the black sites have been shut down, and these are boats that are on the sea where they say in the Q post that MK Ultra was going on there. There's probably a lot of children that are imprisoned there. We're hearing all these reports now about children being freed from underground tunnels. One of the headlines I saw today, 50,000 children apparently have just been freed. That is not confirmed. I haven't had time to go back and look at it. We got a lot of stuff going on here. But definitely when Q says black sites have been shut down, those black sites are by sea. So all I can say is that active operations mean people are dying, and they are doing this ethically. They are not hitting anything with bunker buster bombs. They're going to do it the right way. But doing it the right way, unfortunately, means that a lot of friendlies get lost in the process. They are dying for their freedom for the planet. And we feel really bad about that. So whatever the heck we've got going on, and the problems that we have online, and the opposition that we've had, nothing even comes close that we've dealt with to the stress and the pain and the fear and the trauma of soldiers, possibly in the tens or even hundreds of thousands, I don't know how many there are, actually dying to get us our freedom back. So we honor them, we salute them. We salute their sacrifice, we salute their service, because there is nothing more virtuous or valuable than offering your own life as a payment in exchange for others' safety and freedom. That is the ultimate sacrifice. It is a sacrifice that I have always known that I could end up making for doing what I do. This is very real. The opposition is very real, and they have many, many assets and many, many resources, and a lot of people are amazed. They say, David, how are you still alive? Well, we do our best to follow the rules. There are spiritual rules in the universe. We don't ever flaunt them. We don't ever take advantage of them. But it is a very consistent teaching that you will be at least predominantly safe if you have preserved your karma to the best of your ability. You can make some mistakes here and there, yes. There is a lot of forgiveness, but where it really gets down to trouble is when you're doing things like blatantly screwing people out of large amounts of money, womanizing, having sex with someone, saying you're going to be with them forever, and then turning your back on them and ghosting them, never calling them back. That kind of stuff actually, when you become an influential political figure or public figure, that can get you killed. That kind of behavior. These angelic forces that I talk about, they can protect us, but we have to follow the rules, which means you have to genuinely be a good person. And again, there's a lot of room for mistakes. Corey Goode is obviously not a perfect person. I am not a perfect person. The President of the United States is definitely not a perfect person. A lot of people want this thing to be different than it is. You might want me to be different than I am. Well, I'm jogging for you now, buddy. I'm out there like Rambo, jogging with my crazy military dog, getting in shape. The love handles are disappearing. It's pretty freaking cool. I never thought that would happen. But it's awesome. And so I like what's happening in the world, not because of the fear porn that is being peddled by the media. The pandemic is horrible, okay? And what we're being forced to do is horrible. I was talking to Elizabeth about this the other night. How is it that we are now, the whole world is on house arrest, right? Let's think about this. If you get busted for a crime, and we have an overcrowded prison system, what are they apt to do? They're apt to give you this ankle bracelet that you wear all the time, and you get to be at home doing absolutely nothing. Your food is provided for, but you're a prisoner. And the main thing is that if you leave your house, that the ankle bracelet goes off, and the authorities are alerted, you broke the thing, and now you got more time. Well, hell, that's exactly what's happening, right? So this is like a global imprisonment. We have actually got everybody in prison. And so one of the things that Elizabeth and I were talking about the other day is you got to treat your cellmate well. And when you're in prison, it's stressful, it's terrible. Elizabeth and I have had unbelievable stress in our personal lives through a variety of different intersecting factors that are going on, including a variety of different legal things that are going on, launching our class, having all this information come in, having people trying to get us killed, which is very, very real. It's a lot of stress. And so in the past, we have not always handled it the best. I have traumatic memories from being on various sets that I've worked on before. And so sometimes I exhibited stress in these live shows because I didn't know how my slides were going to work and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. I'm going to be very, very careful to not let that happen anymore, and just be relaxed, stay cool. And that's a really good thing. We're all having to learn that this is a very unusual situation. A lot of reports coming in about domestic violence. A lot of reports coming in about weapons being used against each other in homes. A huge, huge surge in temporary restraining orders, or TROs. A huge surge in actual violent outbreaks, incidents. Again, I don't believe this is the end of the world. I do believe that we're going to get through this. And it is very, very important that we really put these things into practice at home right now. So one of the things I had for you that I want to talk about is the emblematic soliloquy. This was a kind of a funny thing that I got the other day. And I think that this is actually good practice. Now, normally I teach people when you want to get spiritual, when you really want to start digging into your homework on a spiritual level, that you can journal and you can write things down and write about what's happening to you, write about your feelings. It's basically like what they used to call the diary. And that's good. That's actually really good. It's a healthy thing to keep you on track. You need to be heard, okay? But what I have found out, and I'm the big talker in the family, right? So what I have found out is that listening, asking somebody else to listen to you when you're stuck in the house together and you have nowhere else to go, you gotta dial that shit down. You can't do too much of it, okay? You want to be able to keep yourself from going too long on topics that, even if you're very excited, and you're very positive, we all need to respect that we don't have anywhere else to go. We're trapped at home together. We're basically prisoners in a cell right now. And therefore, it's very important that you give everybody their space. And so in my case, I came up with a humorous name for a technique, and I call it emblematic soliloquy. And this is really funny because what I've been doing is that I will go outside on the patio here and talk to my dog. And I'll share with my dog, what's going on and how I feel. And what I find is that as I'm doing this, as I share about myself, that I might be talking about one thing that I think is the main topic. But at the same time, I will notice as I'm saying it, I'll be able to, in a meditative state, you can become the observer of yourself. And you can think about what else is going on that you're not seeing. And when I become the observer, I say, wait a minute. I'm talking about one level of subject, but then there's a deeper level. There's like a deep spiritual meaningfulness where this actually, the thing that I'm talking about out loud applies to these other things that are much deeper. So you can use free association. You can talk to your pet, or you could talk to yourself. You could do it in the mirror. You could do it outside. You can just talk to whoever. And that way, you have the experience of talking, which is like socializing. You can listen to yourself. You can check out the symbolic meaning of what you're talking about and look for the deeper levels. And if you find them, go there. But actually, I think that talking out loud is a good way to process all of your emotions as we're going through this very unique, unprecedented challenge. So a soliloquy is what happens in a play where the main character or one of the characters steps off away from the play and delivers the inner monologue of his thoughts or her thoughts. A soliloquy is where one character spends a long time talking by themselves. And that's a typical tool that was used in the Shakespearean plays. So now what I'm saying is the word emblematic, that means symbolic. So an emblematic soliloquy is where you are going off and talking by yourself to your pet or to the mirror or whatever you like, and letting the symbolic nature of what you're saying and looking for the deeper levels to go through you. Now, yes, I, David Wilcock, just told you that talking to yourself is a good practice, but you know what? We're at home, and you don't want to stay locked up in your head, and you do need to talk, but you also need to have the ability to give your friends and family some time. If you have good people you can talk to on the phone, I think that's a great thing too. But I also think it's good to talk to your higher self. You can talk to God, or whatever you want to call it, the intelligent infinity, the creator. Talk about what you really feel. And I think it's really going to help a lot. So I don't know what the heck the 2 if by C thing is, but there's a lot of chatter on here. It looks like things are really getting going. So let's go back to the slide for a minute. They're saying the corn has been harvested. That's very provocative. They're saying deaths are going to happen. Something about a military operation is what that appears to be. We are ready. Set 1 mission is good. Nothing is wrong. Everything's on track. Together we win. Where we go one, we go all. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff here. And, they also said it will be your choice whether to know. We went through that one with the Twitter CEO. It's very, very disturbing stuff. Anyway, let's go back to, because this gets us up to where we were in the last show. So let's go back to this, and let's go back to the split screen view so we can get you back on track here. All right. So, again, the tie-in here is that it says the harvest has been prepared and soon will be delivered to the public for consumption, and now they're saying the harvest is finished. The corn has been harvested. So probably a bunch of people have already been interviewed, and that information is getting ready to be delivered to us. And how do you remove a liability? Hunters become the hunted. That's a very, very provocative statement. That means that These people have been rapacious. They stop at nothing to use torture, death, murder. And our whole planet is threatened here. I mean, this is the degradation of the environment. This is the mass loss of life that they would like to create. There is an exceptional amount of information that we are dealing with a bioweapon here. I don't believe that that is anything other than the truth. We are getting some weird briefings about, they don't really necessarily know if this was designed or if it was accidentally leaked. But if it was accidentally leaked, somebody appears to have spiked it and messed with it and made it worse. So anyway, I'm looking at a lot of things online right now, and they're saying that it's not, most people don't even notice that they have this thing, right? And so there's a bunch of reports coming up now about how, hey, it's not actually that bad for most people. Depending on the percentage of where you read it, it could be between 20%, 50%, 70%, even upwards of, as I said last time, 85% of people, up to 85% of the people who actually have tested positive for this thing never knew they had anything, or they had very minimal things that they could easily manage, okay? So it's strange because this virus is very, very aggressive if you have the compromised immune system. It's very, very dangerous. It attacks the heart. It attacks the kidneys. It attacks the brain. And of course, we know about what it does to the lungs. The immunologists that I'm looking at, as I've been doing my research this week, say they've never seen anything like this. But yet this is real. So when we look at the scope of what we're learning and the scope of where this is taking us as a planet, it's actually very exciting, because this appears to have been the cabal's last attempt to try to steer things in their favor, throw off the 2020 elections, stop freedom from happening, stop people from being able to gather, stop people from being able to support any candidate, stop debates from happening, force voting to happen by mail. Well, David, that's crazy. How in the world would somebody be willing to sacrifice many, many tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives, or millions potentially, just to try to win an election? Well, then you don't understand the cabal. You don't understand what these people are capable of, how evil they are, how crazy they are, what they've done before. I've been a scholar on this stuff since I learned about it in college back in 1992, when I learned about what was being done with American corporations supporting Nazi Germany, and that they didn't even really hide it that well. So now we're at a point where all of this stuff, the weird open-air assassination of a U.S. president in 1963, and the media is covering it up, we've known something's wrong. There's a lot of great songs in the 1970s, like disco songs, that came out in the aftermath of Watergate. They're very happy songs. Everybody was so excited. So Elizabeth and I have been listening to some disco, things like Kool and the Gang, whatever we feel like. Isley Brothers, because there's a lot of great music from that era where people were happy, Stevie Wonder. And so I believe that we are on the threshold of a very, very powerful moment in human history. So let's go back to the slides again. The hunters, these crazy people, have become the hunted. This is massive treason, massive sedition, and we're all going to learn about it. So then on November 19th, as I said before, they said there is no step 5. This is the end. So that to me again shows that the sequence we're going through right now is the final sequence. We're not going to have to wait longer. This is it. Then they said it's going to be biblical, the Great Awakening. Now, yeah, I've talked about the 3 days, but I don't think that's all it is. The 3 days may or may not even happen, okay, because the plans keep changing, but the overall objective is the same. It is a fact. You can look at the recent executive order that declaring a national emergency that Trump has activated potentially up to 1 million reserve troops. So all kinds of stuff could be going on. When they say it's going to be biblical, and then in the recent QAnon post where it said, "and frogs to destroy them," quoting out of Psalms, they're talking about the plague. So I think it's going to be biblical, was them understanding that something would happen like this. Because let's not forget, okay, it's easy to lose track of all the other stuff that was going on. If you have the ability to use satellites to generate gigantic amounts of rainfall, you could direct the rain onto deserts and breed up a whole bunch of locusts, and then cut the rain off, and the locusts are going to swarm to wherever there is food. And that's how you create a locust plague, okay? Plague of locusts is one of the things in the Bible. The Cabal did that. And those locust plagues are unbelievably bad, and they're sweeping through Africa, and now I believe India. And so the food supply is very, very jeopardized, and that's not something that happens overnight, but that is an attack on the people of this planet and the population of the planet in progress, okay? America cannot sustain, nobody in the world can sustain this shutdown for very long. It's not like this is a new normal. All of this stuff that they're saying about, oh, well, we're going to get a vaccine by the end of 2021 next year, and we're just going to chill out in our houses until next year, and then everybody gets to take the Bill Gates vaccine. Oh, maybe you'll even get it in your nose. You don't have to get an injection. Oh, great. Well, come on. Come on. Now, I also saw an article today that was really, really attacking hydroxychloroquine, the malaria drug that was touted by the President of the United States as an effective treatment against COVID, and they apparently had some new study. I forget what it was. I think it had 238 participants in it or something like that, but the upshot of it was that that particular study, which they say is admittedly a small data set, they're trying to say, oh, well, COVID didn't do anything for these people and in fact made them worse, and it didn't make them any less likely to die, okay? But there's been a lot of other things about the benefits of chloroquine, and now the media is having to fight back, but what are they doing? They're trying to say that it's all nonsense. But if it's all nonsense, then why did these other places get such good reports, you see? So once again, you can't just believe everything that they're telling you in the mainstream media. These are the people implicated in what's going on. I've never gotten invited on any of these. I was talking to a talent booker today, actually, who reached out to me. And yeah, you could try to get me on those shows, but I don't know if I really want to go, because they're just going to set me up and they're going to talk about me like I'm an idiot. And they're going to use the most embarrassing footage that they've ever found in my whole life, and that's what they're going to play. You know, we don't deserve to be treated like this. We're trying to get you your freedom. So when they say it's going to be biblical, they're talking about plagues and, you know, the plague of locusts, and then this actual pandemic. And they talked about having the looking glass technology. That's one of the things that we did a whole big video about before. And that technology does allow people to look into the future accurately, reasonably accurately. You might not get all the details, but there's some very, very cool stuff in the classified programs that we don't know about yet in the open world that we're going to learn about. That's very, very cool. So the next one they had was, that I was going to target you on, be ready, December 2nd, 2019, they said, be ready, public awakening coming. Be ready, Anons. Okay, and then we have this picture of what looks like some kind of airstrip, some kind of probably military thing that's going to happen there. I don't know exactly what that is, but we could speculate. There's probably an answer that people have already found. They've probably already traced that picture, but the public awakening is coming, and they say be ready. Well, they already had told us what be ready means, which is you got to have your food and water stored. So this is not just briefings that I got. This is stuff that Q was telling you as well. So then they also said on December 7th, panic is real and all hands on deck. And then the dictionary definition of evil. So once again, the panic is for the deep state people. They are very, very afraid, and they are, you know, going down fast. So then we talked about the National Presidential Alert System. Again, there is a good possibility that at some point you're going to get your phone giving you a message. If that starts to happen, then we really know, wow, everything that we've been told in these briefings is coming true. I don't know how that'll happen, but anyway, it could be that they do that. Maybe they won't need to use it. I don't know. So then it says, the first indictment unsealed will trigger a mass popular awakening. The first arrest will verify action and confirm future direction. They will fight, but you are ready. So I think we're going to see a lot more stuff there. And again, they will fight, but you are ready. Again, they're very, very confident that this is going to work out in everybody's favor. This is probably one of my favorite ones. The enormity of what is coming will shock the world. And how does that sound right now? With all this pandemic stuff that's going on, it's a big, big deal. So you can see it right here, post number 3728. And they say, we're with you. They said, friend and patriot, hold your head up high. Sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself for the greater good. And there's a lot of people that are going to be doing that. So again, the enormity of what is coming will shock the world. And Q doesn't need to keep saying the same things over and over again. But hey, look at what just happened. We just got the Wikileaks data dump. That's very, very exciting. December 19th, they said something big is coming. Okay? And so if you are thinking, oh man, this Pfizer thing, it's so boring. Yeah, maybe they're going to prove that like the Five Eyes countries worked on their surveillance apparatus to steal the presidential. Oh, I don't care if they stole the election. I don't care. Wait a minute. Just because it's not cool for some people who follow this mainstream media, it's not cool to like the current administration. You can't just throw out all the laws. You can't just throw out the Constitution. You can't just say, oh yeah, now it's cool to do treason. Now it's cool to plot behind somebody's back and illegally collude with these other countries to say that the WikiLeaks stuff came not from a DNC staffer with a USB stick, but that it came from Russia. And then former presidents like President Obama getting on NPR as they leaked to you in QAnon and actually just saying, well, everybody knew on the inside that this was all the intelligence agencies knew what was going on. Well, dude, there's a reason why Q just linked to all that, and I watched that, and it's like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff that he said that undoubtedly they're going to prove that it's not true. I feel really bad for him. I do. And I hope there's a lot of people that are going to do the right thing and be able to get a reduced sentence or some clemency by being cooperative. December 29th, 2019, they said the truth will be told. And then January 21st, they said they are attempting to protect themselves from prosecution and prevent the public from discovering the truth. This is January 21st. So they don't want anything to happen to them. And what better way to protect the public from discovering the truth than to throw the whole society into a total tailspin right before they're about to be defeated, right before these operations are about to be enacted, right before there's about to be arrests. Hey, let's release this crazy thing. Let's release this crazy virus that even though it's not that lethal for most people, you still have to keep everybody home because if you do get it and you have the comorbidities, you're in a lot of trouble. So this is a big change for planet Earth, and it's very sad that this happened. But we can use this. We can use this as people are home to find out what really happened and get this whole thing cleaned up. So they said January 23rd, truth and facts will prevail. The public will learn the truth. Oh, and by the way, people are like, how does David have the psychic ability to know what the slides are going to say before it comes out? Well, I'm using Apple Keynote, and you get the next slide ahead, so I can see the slide ahead as well as the slide I'm already on. So that's how it works. It's not that I'm psychic, sorry. It's just Keynote. Okay. The public will learn the truth, and then they say a slow drip is going to turn into a flood, and think grand jury material. So now all this is happening. Nothing can stop what is coming. Nothing. And now the flood has begun with the WikiLeaks. So this is very, very exciting. Nothing can stop what is coming. And this seems almost absurdly overconfident. But then they said, what storm you'll see. Well, we're getting ready for that. And I think there's going to be some really amazing stuff in this WikiLeaks thing. I hope you'll join us in getting in there, getting your hands dirty. Leave us a comment. If you find something cool, we'll look at it. We'll make videos about it. We're not going to be just sitting around waiting for the cavalry to come in with the trumpets blaring and the guns blazing. We are going to get our hands dirty and do this work with the Alliance because this is a group effort. And then, ironic joke now, don't worry, it won't be boring forever. Well, this is just 2 months before everything got shut down. Corrupt Democrats fighting for their lives to keep the media and the government focused on POTUS. Well, look at what's happening now. And they call it the Great Awakening. They said, what happens when people learn the truth? What happens when people wake up? They will not be able to walk down the street. The Great Awakening. That is starting to happen. Then they said, buckle up and panic in D.C. Is there no equal justice under the law? No accountability? Will these people be able to get out unscathed? Buckle up. There's panic in D.C. The people actually believe those responsible for this attempted coup of a duly elected sitting president will go unpunished. Okay, now look. Again, we've said this so many times. You've been battered. We all have some kind of PTSD from a media that is giving us nothing but negativity for 4 frickin' years. The entire time of this administration, it's non-stop deluge, 99% negative coverage. And it's like, I look at this as similar to a dysfunctional relationship. And remember, I have a degree in psychology, and I also studied suicide, hotline, crisis intervention, and prevention. So I actually was trained to work suicide hotlines. I know about domestic violence. I watched the videos of women where their eyes are all closed up because they're so swollen from being black and blue, and their lips are all crazy, and there's cuts on their face, and they're crying, and they've just been beaten, but they say, I still love him and I still want to go back to him. Okay, and so we all have had that. We all have been beaten down. We all have been abused. We all have been lied to. We all have been betrayed. And the betrayal is absolutely horrible. And when you learn about a betrayal that's that bad, the typical experience you have is shock and anger. And another thing that's a very important psychological principle regarding these domestic incidents that are now happening, it's a lot easier for us as human beings, and I try to be very, very self-maintained on this and not let this happen, but it's very easy for us to take frustration about other things and project them onto a person who's nearby. So we always have to be careful about that. What we don't want to do is we don't ever want to put our partners or family members or children through our own darkness. We want to try to keep that to ourselves. And again, if you can practice emblematic soliloquy or talking to yourself in an intelligent way, in a structured way, in a therapeutic way, talk about your frustration, talk about your anger, talk about how upset you are. Verbalize it, get it out, get it off your chest. You don't need anybody to hear it. God will hear it, the higher beings will hear it, that's fine, okay? Your dog might understand you, who knows? Did you say food? Did you say walk? Well, she's going to perk up for that. But anyway, yeah, so this is a time for all of us to wake up to the fact that we have been beaten and abused, and yet somehow the abuser told us it's okay for us to totally screw around with this guy. We hate this guy. He's the President of the United States, but we effing hate this guy. And so because we hate him so much, we want you to hate him, and we're going to give you all these reasons all the time. And yeah, we're going to bend the rules, and we're going to screw around, and we're going to do things that are illegal, and we're going to get ourselves in trouble, but it doesn't really matter because don't you just hate him? Don't you just hate him? Ah. Dude, there's laws. This is like legal systems and Department of Justice and federal investigations and subpoenas and interrogations and depositions and testimonies. I mean, you can't do that. Even if you don't like the guy, right? The normal thing you do, if you got a stinker in the White House and you don't like the person, wait till the election and vote. We have that power. But if the power is being taken away from the people, if social media has been manipulated by big tech, that you can only get one side of the story, then there's a problem. And again, if you are a liberal, if you are on the far left, because remember, I grew up in a hippie family in upstate New York. That's as liberal as it gets. That's far, 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 far left. Then I lived for 5 years in Virginia and 3 years in Kentucky, and I also did a year in Texas. Okay, so I've got both the northern and the southern regions of the country as core intrinsic experiences that built me into being who I am. I was happy to be in the South. Okay, I didn't have a problem with it. And I understand both sides of this thing. I understand the political divide. I do. And again, if all I had available to me was the information coming from the media, I would probably hate the President of the United States too, because you can focus on things and you can get really angry about those things. But isn't it cool just to imagine the possibility that there's something going on here that is so freaking exciting, that this guy who you might not like could actually be involved in a much deeper operation that's maybe hundreds of years old if you look at where it started in Russia, at least since the 1950s in America, maybe longer. And these two factions, the Rockefeller and Rothschild faction, they're not getting to duke it out anymore. It wasn't a presidential election between the Rockefeller candidate, which is the Democrat, or the Republican, and the Rothschild candidate, which is the Democrat. And so, like, if you look at the 2000 election, right, you got George W. Bush versus Al Gore, which was the vice president under Clinton, okay? The Al Gore faction, what was he talking about? He had a movie called Inconvenient Truth, right? That movie was about climate change, and that movie was attacking the oil industry. So even back in 2000, when they were trying to get Al Gore into office, that's the Rothschild faction that wanted that, and what was Al Gore doing? He was making the oil companies look really, really bad by talking about climate change, and even back then they had this plan to deindustrialize the world, to shut off the use of oil, to shut off industry, okay? Because they knew that if oil collapsed, that their rival, the Rockefeller faction, would go down because the Rockefellers live on that oil money. So think about this. I want you to really think about this, right? Inconvenient Truth, Al Gore, okay, that's the Democrat side, that's the Rothschild side, and they're actually attacking the Rockefellers. The Rockefeller side is going to fight wars in order to stabilize oil, and it's all about the oil business, and so that's where you get your Clintons and your Bushes. Well, actually, the Clintons were actually the Rothschild faction, but the Bush side in particular is going to really, really drive that narrative of, you know, the oil wars. And so the one thing, this is the most important thing that I was getting to before when I was talking about the two factions. The one thing that they always agreed on above all else is total secrecy. They cannot allow this information to go out into the public eye. They cannot allow. They will fight to the death. Now bear in mind, the Rockefeller faction thinks of themselves as more Christian. They don't really get into the Luciferian stuff, but they do the same crap. And they're still trying to kill a bunch of people, and they believe in depopulation, and they believe in mind-controlled shooters, and they believe in rigging the courts, and rigging the justice system, and rigging elections, and penetrating military, and penetrating corporations, and controlling the mainstream media. This is what they do. This is their livelihood. They thrive on it. But they don't believe in Lucifer. They don't believe in Satanism. They have their own weird stuff that they do, yes, but it's not the same. But even if they're going to fight to the death, okay, and the one thing, and this is so important, Savali said this in 2000, the Illuminati whistleblower, the one thing they always agree upon is secrecy. Now, I know this from my many years of working with insiders. Let's go to the wide shot for a second, because I'm going to give some big, big hand gestures now. This is the one thing that I know from working from insiders for many, many years and hearing this testimony from the top people. The one thing that they always agree on is the need for secrecy. They will fight each other to the death. You will find a Rothschild who's hung by a towel in his bathroom off of the bathroom towel rack. Like, yeah, that's a great idea how to kill yourself. Let's just do it on the towel rack. You'll find Rockefellers dying. You'll find Rothschilds dying. And they're killing each other. But even in the midst of that, they will never, ever, 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 ever tell you what they're really doing, because there's a mutual agreement that they're fighting for control of planet Earth. They think it's sexy, which is kind of the weird psychopathic nature of this stuff. You look at a movie like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they put Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie together, and they fall in love while they're trying to kill each other as opposing intelligence agents, right? They're having a romance while they're trying to kill each other. That movie is a very basic statement about how the cabal actually sees what they do. That they believe that the world must not know what they're up to. If the Rockefeller faction wins, then we go in more of the oil direction. If the Rothschild faction wins, we go in more of the financial service direction. The Rothschilds were trying to deindustrialize. They didn't want oil to be used anymore. And look at what's happening right now. That should give you a pretty big clue about who might have done this, okay? Deindustrialization, keeping you home, keeping you quiet, keeping you so that you're not a threat to the existing power structure is all important. And so, I again implore you, please, if you don't really get this, if you don't have the pedigree of 25 years of studying this and talking to insiders like I do, 25 years of voraciously digesting information about this cabal. It's actually more than 25 years. It's like 27 years, okay? Once you see secrecy break down, once you see real information coming out and something like QAnon in this volume with this specific detail, the Wikileaks stuff, and now we have a new data dump, there is no way whatsoever that any of the two factions or any of the other factions in the deep state would ever want this to happen. Well, I think that the President of the United States is just another example of the same old BS, man, and he's just going to turn into the dictator. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. This thing is not being run by the President of the United States. It's an operation that precedes him, that he was invited to participate in. So that's one of the biggest things that drives me crazy is there's all these people who may have already died. There's probably already a whole bunch of deaths. I don't really know. And there's probably a whole bunch more that are getting ready to happen. And we thank you, soldiers, and we support you, soldiers. I truly believe this because I'm doing the same thing. I'm here, and I'm giving you this. And I'm putting it all out there. I'm not holding anything back. We need to save our planet. We need to get the control of this world back into the hands of people who know what is the right move to make, at least to a less distorted degree than Satanism and blood drinking and human sacrifice and depopulation and microchipping the population and killer vaccines and electromagnetic frequencies and all this crazy stuff that we hear about, okay? Enough is enough. We as planet Earth, we say thank you, but no thank you. We're done. We're finished with this. We don't want to fight against each other about gender, about race, about religion, about nationality, the age gap, the generational thing. You know, let's cut the millennials some slack. They got really, really screwed here. And now they're looking like if nothing else was going to happen, they'd get screwed even more. But we do know that when these arrests happen, we get a global currency reset. There's trillions of dollars of funds that the deep state seized that are going to be repatriated back into the economy. So people think this is the end of the world, and it's really bad right now, and the headlines are really, really scary, but I don't believe that's actually true. Oh, and we did watch One World at Home, by the way. So let me go back to camera 2 here. Stephanie Germanata, thank you. You didn't do anything weird, and you sung very well. And again, we love you in Star is Born. You really gave a middle finger to the music industry in that movie, and you have my full support. So your report card is a straight A, and I thank you again for what happened. Now, isn't it interesting, when you watch this One World at Home, they had all of the 3 guys from the major networks. They had Jimmy Kimmel, they had Jimmy Fallon, and they had Stephen Colbert, the top 3 original cable networks, CBS, ABC, NBC, the hosts of nighttime talk television. I don't know if there's ever been a thing where all 3 of them hosted this before, and it was all a bunch of videos of people doing stuff at home. And then and then they say at the beginning, throw your wallets away. This is not a fundraiser. And I feel bad sometimes in these videos if I talk just a little bit about a class that I'm offering, an online program that I'm offering, because I don't like marketing. I don't like to hear that stuff. Well, they say, throw your wallets away. This is not a fundraiser. But then the whole entire show, every single time you watch one of these videos, of which some were okay and some were definitely not very good. Not shot well, they didn't sound good, and the performance wasn't very good. But after almost every single one, it's just advertising, advertising, advertising. The whole thing felt like a huge infomercial. And they were constantly pushing one type of fundraiser. Well, I want to speak balls out about this, okay? Because if you've been into this arena for as long as I have, there's a very well-known fact that the Clinton Foundation raised money for the Haiti earthquake survivors, and Haiti never got it. And you had the president of Haiti, or I think it was the president of Haiti, going out there and having a very, very impassioned, angry speech about how that money never got to Haiti. It was money laundering. They used a traumatic situation and they scoop in a bunch of money. And so what am I seeing? I see Keith Urban, and he's married to Nicole Kidman. He had probably the best performance out of anybody. He did a rendition of Steve Winwood's classic Higher Love, which is one of my favorite songs. And he did it really well. He had a three-shot where he gets three versions of himself doing the different tracks. You get to see Nicole Kidman come in at the end. He did a great job. And then right afterwards, who do you get to see? Well, they didn't even say the name. Stephen Colbert said his wife, Melinda Gates, and then he says this funny stuff and he just calls him Bill. So he wouldn't even say the two words, the first name and the last name together. And here he shows up, and he's there in his house, and it was obvious to me that he probably paid for this thing. And so my mind starts thinking about Clintons and Haiti and the fact that this thing is a very heavy-handed advertisement claiming to be the World Health Organization, but then the big star where the whole thing is supposed to make him look cool is this guy where they won't even say his name together with the two words together, okay? And if you know about this, as I said before, the UK Daily Express back in 2009 had this article called Billionaire Club in Bid to Curb Overpopulation, in which it describes that Bill Gates brought this group together to discuss how to reduce the horrible problem of too many people on Earth. And what do we do about this? And they agreed to focus on vaccines. And then the next year, he donates $11 billion in 2010 to his foundation. Warren Buffett donates $34 billion. That's a total of $46 billion. And even if you subtract $5 billion for their expenses, that's $41 billion that they could have spent designing this effing thing that is now out there changing the whole world in a very nasty way. And again, if we don't reopen society, a whole lot of people could die of suicide, hunger, starvation. And it is lunacy at a certain point to leave everything shut down for an indeterminate period of time. And so you're already seeing states in America starting to break away. South Carolina, Georgia are two of the states I can remember. I think Tennessee was another one off the top of my head, who have already said we're going to reopen. Now, there's a lot of controversy around all this stuff, okay? But it's not that dangerous for most people. And expecting that we're not going to get it is foolish. We're going to end up developing what they call herd immunity, where everybody's gotten it, everybody processes it through. So again, it sucks to have the flu, but that's the most that it's going to be for most people unless you have pre-existing conditions at any age. Comorbidities, as they call it. So anyway, let's go back to these slides. I talked to you about the two factions, and now let's get back to this. The one thing they always agree on is secrecy. Nobody ever wants the truth to come out, because then they would all be destroyed. Nobody gets to have fun fighting over who gets to run the world anymore. So February 9th, 2020, they say one word is justice. And then as I showed you last time, it's about, haven't you figured it out yet? It's not about Trump's corruption. It's about making sure you don't find out about their corruption. And this is very true now. This is why this thing seems to have happened. And then on Valentine's Day, they're telling us to get ready for a world televised sit-down. And, delayed testimony because, again, we're waiting. When are we going to hear from these people? You guys have already done arrests, I'm sure. There's secret stuff going on. Allow for public dissemination of critical facts prior to the world televised sit-down. Well, that would be like Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, all that kind of crap that's already gone down. Prior to a world televised sit-down, that has not happened yet. But now the very first shot has been fired with this Wikileaks D-class. I mean, I don't even know what the heck we're going to find. I just said we're going live. This is it. We are going live today. We're going to do this right now. Well, the story is very hot and fresh before we really know anything so that you get inspired to want to do more with this. So then they say, you know, sometimes the necessary forum to update the American public is provided by the same people being investigated. So I guess that implies the media. Will the release change the strategy? Watch what happens next. They said it's going to be a very hot spring and summer on February 17th, and that is definitely something that looks like it's happening. And then they said on February 17th, to be blunt, game over. Now, to me, this implies that already by February 17th, certain mission-critical operations may have been finished. I don't know this, but I can certainly speculate with an informed perspective. They would not say game over if they didn't already think that they had nailed it and that they had this thing in the bag. We're dealing with this coronavirus, yes, but this may have been like a last-ditch thing when the cabal already knew they were out of time and like, well, you guys don't get to have a happy planet. We're going to destroy it on the way out. That's probably what they did. So prepare for the storm. That's what we're now in, of course. You have come far. You are ready. They had nothing from February 25th to March 9th. And then they said again, nothing can stop what is coming, and rig for red. Now, rig for red is another military term that means red alert. And so red alert is when the red lights come on, like if you're in a submarine, you hear a siren, and then all the lights turn red, and that's red alert, and that means every soldier has to get to his station immediately, his or her station. You run to your stations, you are on red alert, you are active, you are in position, and you're ready for war. So when they say rig for red, that's a really big deal, and they said it on March the 9th. So that means that people were being put into active operations, that we're hearing a lot of murmurings, and I don't know all the details, but apparently a lot of things have already been done and are being done, and we're just not getting to hear about it yet, but we will. It's all, they said, to be blunt, game over. Nothing can stop what is coming. So no matter what seems to be going down in the world, they believe that this plan is so solid that nothing is going to stop it, and I actually would agree. Then on March 9th, they say God wins. Well, this again implies, okay, we're dealing with, they say it's going to be biblical, right? God wins. It's not like they're saying that the president is God. They're saying the real God, the good God, the God that actually loves you and wants to make sure that you're safe and happy and that you have a home and you can feed your family and you can help your kids feel safe when they go to sleep at night. That's what we want. We want a world that is free from psychopaths and killers and deranged lunatics who want to plant information in your mind that's not true and screw with your head and screw with the way you think. And I don't appreciate that. You know, we need to get past this. And from a spiritual perspective, I believe that the reason why these people were able to do this is that they were authorized on some level because we were not brave enough as a planet to look at this thing in the eye, to face the fact that people would really think like this. It was unthinkable for most people that there would ever be something like this in the world where everybody is stuck at home and there's this killer virus that's going around and destroying lives and destroying people's families and destroying mothers and fathers and daughters and brothers and sisters. It's so freaking sad that somebody would actually go this far to try to kill people off on planet Earth and actually do it over an election and who gets to run the most powerful country on Earth. But that's what they're doing. And so one of the best ways that we have to counteract this is the global meditation. So without further ado, that's what I'd like to do now. So, sweetheart, we're going to get that going with the bowls in just a moment. Let me, I guess the dog heard me. Elizabeth might be somewhere else. So let me just, real quick, everybody, put up an animation here. And I'll make sure that I find her so we can do this together. Do I have any good animations on here? Let's see. All right, let's go for this one here, just one of these slides. All right, so I'm going to give you that real quick. I'm going to turn off the mic. I'm going to find her so we can get the meditation going. Hang with me for just a second, everybody. All right. Elizabeth was upstairs watching, and so now we got the band back together. So let's go back to let's go to this one. We'll stage the shot here. Do you need any help? This is some powerful magic, my friends. Powerful, good, positive stuff that we're going to do for planet Earth to get you the meditation you need to make the right decisions for you and your family. All right. Oh, and by the way, I did bring another stupid, crazy, cheesy jacket that I have in my collection. At some point, I thought this was a good idea. I don't know why. But this is another one of my Vegas entertainer jackets. Tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. Thank you, thank you. Anyway, I'm not going to wear this one for very long, but it's kind of like Liberace, and yeah, it helps if it's on right. Anyway, that was fun. I just wanted to show you that. Because, I got clothes in my room, and, we got to use them for something. And we got the girly. We got the girly in the shot. Well, you probably can't see her, but yeah. All right, girly, just hang on. Hang on. So I'd like you to take some time to be by yourself, which you're already doing, but you're with me, so it's not really totally alone. Take a nice deep breath for a moment. And just let yourself relax. And as you breathe in, feel the sense of peace and calm coming over you. Allowing your breaths to be effortless perfection. Exhaling all stress. Feeling a warmth moving through every muscle. A warmth in the bottom of your feet as you keep breathing deeply and going deeper and deeper into a positive, loving, and receptive state. As if your feet have little warm slippers on them, slippers of light, slippers of energy. And you feel that warm, tingling sensation relaxing and healing any issues, any tension or stress in your feet. And then you feel it gliding up to your ankles, relaxing your ankles. And that warm, living light is gliding up through your calves and your lower legs, healing any issues you may have. As you breathe deeply, you feel your knees relaxing. You feel the light moving through them and everything just working itself out so beautifully. And then you feel that living light moving up your thighs now, moving through your upper thighs, moving through your buttocks, moving through your groin area, as if you are now wading in a pool of liquid light. And you're so deeply relaxed. Moving up through your abdomen and your back. Feel that energy rising up your chest, healing all organs in your body, healing all possibilities of anything going wrong for you. moving up through your upper chest and your upper back, releasing all that muscle tension in your back. Everything is relaxed. Everything feels calm and peaceful. Moving through your trapezius muscles, the muscles next to your neck, the top, moving through your shoulders, seeing those joints in perfect harmony and health, the warm energy just easing all the tension out of your shoulders. And now moving down your arms, through the biceps, through the triceps. Feel your biceps and triceps relaxing, letting all the tension and stress just go. Moving down to the elbows now, letting your elbows just be completely calm. All stress and tension being released through the upper forearm area. Feel your forearms completely melting into love, melting into pure white light. And on into your wrists. Give your wrists some love. Let that loving light go through them, into the hands, into the thumb, the fingers, the palm, the back of the hand, until you feel that everything is alive, everything is liquid light. And now you can notice that your whole body up to your neck is bathed in this pool, this beautiful pool of white, loving, liquid light. Your muscles have never been more relaxed. You've never been more calm and confident, secure and safe. You are safe. This is a safe situation for the planet Earth, for humanity. You will be okay. This is going to work out. It's all moving into a great awakening, a world televised sit down as you now feel that energy moving through your neck. You might even want to orbit your head a little bit. You might want to let your neck move. You might want to do small circles with your head. Let your head drop back naturally. Just ease all those muscles. Don't let any tension occur. We always store the most stress in our neck, so just let your neck completely relax itself. Take all that stress and all that tension out of your neck and just let it go. It's such a good thing when you can nurture yourself like this and give yourself this gift. It's such a good thing to just let that relaxation happen. Let the love flow through you the way it is now. And you'll notice it moving up your neck and moving up through the back of your head. Do you feel the back of your head now? Do you feel how soft and warm and gushy it is? That loving liquid light. The back of your head is spreading with love, moving over your ears, the tops of your ears, the side of your ears, the earlobes. And now you'll feel that energy moving across your face, your forehead. Feel your forehead igniting with the passion of divine fire, the liquid light that awakens your true divine self. Moving through your nose, moving through your eyes, any stress or tension you've ever had in your eyes, that pain in your eyes when you have eye strain, you stay up too late, it's all drifting away. Your eyes are so peaceful. Your eyes are so relaxed. Your nose is relaxed, your cheeks are relaxed, your lips are relaxed, your chin is relaxed, your whole face. Your jaw muscle, notice all that tension you might be carrying in your jaw muscle. All those times you can open your mouth, you can move your jaw if you want to. Just let that tension leave. Feel those muscles relaxing, calming, becoming so smooth and so nice. It's not even a big deal to just let yourself go. And notice your teeth, and your teeth are relaxing, and everything is so peaceful. Your tongue is relaxed. That now your entire body is bathed in a liquid light, a peace. that helps you go deeper and deeper into the truth of who and what you really are. Asking yourself some very basic questions. What is existence? How did I get here? Where did the universe originate from, and how? Is there a greater, higher power that guides and nourishes us all? Can I reach out to that force and with humility ask for strength, for hope, for guidance, for inspiration, for peace, for tranquility, for love, for kindness, for compassion, for patience, for forgiveness? Just let that happen. Let that experience of the light flow through you so that you have everything you need to feel even more at peace than ever before. You're almost like a child now, safe and warm, protected and cared for and loved. Nothing can hurt you because you are indestructible. As you go even deeper into yourself, you notice that this light is indestructible. There is a purity to the universe. There is a purity to you and who you are and what you're doing here. And there is so much gratitude for you. So many divine beings who love you so much and are eagerly awaiting your awakening. Let's call to them. Let's ask them for what they want to say. And we'll have my wife see what she wants to say.
Calling on our ancestors of our soul lineages, those ancestors that love us, asking them to be present with us, any of our spiritual guides, ascended masters, and the one infinite light. And we ask for the light of the divine to rain down upon us, in us, and through us, lighting up every single cell of our body and being, and taking a deep breath in, inhaling that light, filling every cell, and exhaling, letting go of anything that needs to be let go of. And again, inhaling that light, filling your body and being, exhale, letting go of any burdens, giving them back up to the light. Asking any of your spiritual guides or angels that you may work with to come be with you now and surround you with their love, with their protection, and with their guidance. And inhaling that love and exhaling anything you need to let go of. And now asking that divine light and the angels, spiritual beings that are loving and helpful to surround and protect the sacred warriors that are here now, who are making a sacred stand for innocence, for beauty on this planet. That includes the children, that includes the earth, the elements, and the animals, and all the good, sacred beings that live here. Seeing those sacred warriors protected, surrounded by light, those who are making the stand that needs to be made. Seeing them guided, and seeing this world as a peaceful world, as a free world, and envisioning this planet, the animals and the elements, happy, free, and smiling. Taking a deep breath in, exhaling anything that needs to be let go of. We give thanks to the divine, to the angels, to the spiritual beings, the sacred warriors, and we ask that each and every one of us have the strength, the clarity, and the guidance to walk the beauty way. Amen.
We also surround all of our troops with love and light, with prayers and strength and support. Those who may have just gotten activated and find out that they're on a very important mission now to save planet Earth. Those who may end up losing their lives for what they're about to do. Let us pray that they are protected, that there are as few casualties on either side as possible, that this happens peacefully, and that the job that needs to be done to save this planet is completely fulfilled with precision, so that we get the planet back, and that we don't have to live under the constant threat of people trying to kill everyone. We're done with that. We're moving on as a planet.
And there's so many people gathered here right now. There's so much power in the visioning of so many people at once. And so let us envision health and happiness for ourselves, health and happiness for those that we love, for our family, health and happiness for all beings, and a beautiful world where we enjoy ourselves, music, art, dance, beauty, and appreciate the spiritual dimension and the spirit beings. Envisioning a peaceful earth.
All right. Take a moment now to send all of this earth the thoughts of love. The whole planet might be scared. It might be scared right now. The earth might be afraid of what is going on. The earth might be afraid that this isn't going to work out. The earth might be afraid by seeing everybody so scared. Let's ask that all those people in their homes feel peace. We have the power to reduce this domestic violence, all these reports of restraining orders and horrible arguments. Let's just envision everyone being able to listen more. Practice your emblematic soliloquy if you want to go do that. Take some time to just breathe every day, to not ask others to shoulder too much of your burden, and be helpful and supportive and kind and considerate and compassionate whenever possible. as this is the truth that will set you free. To just be nice is all the planet is trying to teach us. Let's send that energy to planet Earth, loving this being that is our home, it is our mother, and it is our child. It is being born into this new reality and this new way of living where evil will be exposed and we never again have to repeat the decisions that were made in the past. We never again have to let this demonic control apparatus control us. We are free, sovereign, alive, and eternal. And then I ask you to take this energy and return it back to yourself. It's such a beautiful gift when you can love yourself. To truly love yourself. Without all the complexity, trying to get into some deeper spiritual message or teaching. Without all the intellectualizing and looking for information and looking for specific facts. But to just love yourself. To know that you are okay. You are worthy of love. You are a being of infinite worth. And that is so valuable. You're such a gift. You're such a joy to be around. People love you. And you have so much to offer, and you're so valuable. You are that perfect divine spark of living light, embodied in human form. The universe could be reconstructed just from what you have. Your insights, your thoughts, your perspective is wonderful. And there are so many others who love you as well. You are never alone, and you are never without help, and you are always safe. And again, let's send that safety to our healthcare workers on the front lines. Let's give them everything we've got in this meditation. Envision them being free from any infections, helping people get well, reducing the deaths, getting through this peak period that we're in right now, and regaining our planet. And again, let's support all those who are in any type of military capacity, who are bringing about the change we need at this point in our evolution on Earth. Let us never forget in the greatest sense that you are the light. You are the love. You are the one infinite creator. And this is as it was, as it is now, and as it always shall be. And nothing and no one can ever take that from you. And so it is. All right, now you can let yourself come back to the room. It's good to keep doing these treatments. We want to make sure that everything is cool for planet Earth. We want to keep doing that practice that supposedly reduces global crime, terrorism, fatalities by 72% with 7,000 people. How many do we have right now? 11,800. So we're above the number.
We can and did affect the world.
Yeah, and I popped this on you guys out of nowhere with a half an hour's notice, no email, no Twitter, just boom, put it out there. So that's pretty awesome. We got the magic number. Elizabeth is going to be speaking tomorrow in our Great Awakening class. You want to tell people a little bit about what you're going to do tomorrow?
It's on sacred boundaries, so it's a whole thing about the boundaries of our spiritual, energetic, and emotional space and how to identify it and how to speak it. And it's still open, right?
Yeah. We've actually decided, because so many people keep asking to get into our class, we have an online class going on right now. It's I've already done 10 hours of work, so last Sunday and then the Sunday before that I did 2 5-hour lectures that absolutely blew people away. It's all new material. They're very excited about this. We're not going to bore you with the details, but there are a total of 10 classes, 10 modules. So 3 of them with Elizabeth, and we're going to get into some really intrinsic stuff about how to use light as a tool and how to heal the wounds in your aura and be able to sustain the power of the ascension process. That sustaining your light body is very important, healing those wounds. And there's so much more to come, so we're going to leave the card open. If you want to get involved, there's a link down there on the bottom to the class, and it's all new material, which for me is difficult. I've talked about so many things, but the reviews that we're getting are amazing. We're hardly getting any cancellations or refund requests at all. People are dazzled with it, so go check it out. And it helps us, and we're very proud of what we've accomplished already, and we're very proud of you. You're awakening. You're doing a great job. You're learning what you need to learn now. Let's dig into that Wikileaks. That's a great way you can help. Go in there, get curious, look at the things that you think others might not look at, read through it, and let us know what you find. And we'll see you next time here on the Divine Cosmos official David Wilcock channel. No LARPing going on here. This is the real thing. Thanks for watching, everybody.